Hi and welcome to another Watch Geek video. Today we're taking a closer look at the Cavalli, a second model and the first diver from a New Zealand brand Beaufort. I already reviewed their first model, the Aero Timer Dressy Pilot Watch, about a year ago. And if you want to check that video out, you can click the pop-out banner in the corner of the screen. I liked that watch a lot as it was nicely sized, original looking, and had that awesome California dial. So let's see how their first shot at a diver went. Now, Cavalli, named after a group of islands off the coast of New Zealand, is a vintage-inspired diver, like most new divers in the last few years, with the vintage design expanding to the bracelet as well. It reminds me a lot of the Omega flat link bracelet, as the links have no curvature at all, giving the watch not just a stronger vintage vibe, but also, thanks to the brushed finish, plays with the light in a spectacular way. Despite having a vintage look, the construction is modern, with solid links and a machined clasp that actually features some perlage. As a bonus, it comes with quick release pins, which you will appreciate if you like to switch between different straps. The case follows the same style, being very simple and very flat. It looks great, but because of the flat design, it doesn't look too good on a small wrist like mine. So despite having reasonable dimensions at 39mm in diameter and just a hair over 48 lug to lug, and despite not overhanging my wrist, it kinda looks weird when looked from the side, and the bracelet breaks down pretty strongly, not giving you that look of following the curvature of the wrist. My wrist is 6.7 inches, so if you have a 7-inch or larger wrist, it will look okay on you. Other than that, the case and the whole watch does look spectacular with simple surfaces, brushed finish on top, and polished on the sides. The crown is signed with an elaborate logo, and in true vintage fashion, the watch has no lug guards. The bezel also has a vintage look in both the grip, which is excellent as it's featured on the top part, making for an easier operation, and in the bezel insert that mimics the Bakelite bezels of the past. Unlike Bakelite that ages and becomes brittle over time, here, sapphire is used, meaning the bezel could stay scratch-free for the whole life of the watch. In fact, sapphire is used pretty much everywhere on the watch. The bezel, the front, and the back crystal, with the front being a double-domed boxed sapphire that creates a beautiful distortion effect while not affecting legibility. This is actually a revised version of the crystal, as the first distorted the chapter ring too much, so they decided to rework it for a more legible look, which I respect. What I don't like on this variant at least is the bicolor bezel. Yes, it looks amazing, but since it's only a 12-hour one, the bicolor scheme is here used for style only and no function. If it was a true GMT watch with a 24-hour bezel and a GMT hand, I would love it, especially the detail of the loomed background on the blue section. But like this, it is equivalent to fake exhaust tips we see on so many new cars. If you're not a fan of this fakery, they do offer classic 60-minute diver bezels that are unicolored to match the dial, which are available in black, blue, green, and aged brown. The dial itself is pretty legible and well executed with applied indices filled with lume, and with the date placed at 6 o'clock has a very symmetrical look, which I like. The dial is textured like fine sandpaper, helping it reduce glare and reflections, and helping the already great legibility. One thing you don't see in the pictures is how deep the dial looks. Part leads down to the boxed sapphire and partly to the almost vertical chapter ring, like the ones we see on some Seiko models. It looks cool and you almost get the feeling the dial is glued to the caseback itself. The hands are polished to match the markers and are just the way I like them. Long to reach their designated markers and with a clearly distinguishable hour and minute hand. The watch is powered by a Swiss-made STP-111 movement from the Fossil Group that is pretty much an ETA 2824 clone with the same specs. So a 28,800 bph beat rate, 40 plus hours of power reserve, and featuring both hacking and hand winding. So more premium than the usual Seiko NH35. With a retail price of 799 New Zealand dollars or around 580 US, and with a 30% discount for pre-orders that drops the price to just over $400 US, this thing, specs considered, can be seen as one of the best bang-for-buck divers out there. A Swiss-made movement, a sapphire crystal, bezel, and caseback, a solid link bracelet with solid end links, and a machined clasp for $400 is amazing even if the watch looked like an afterthought. Luckily, it doesn't. It really looks handsome and manages to give a vintage look and almost vintage proportions. The only thing stopping me from getting one for myself is the weird flat case design that just doesn't work with my tiny wrist. But like I said, if you have a 7-inch wrist or larger, you should be okay. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and until the next video, bye.